everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. How are you guys doing today? I am so excited. I've been promising this stream all week. It has been one of those weeks where I have been derailed so many different times between the stuff going on with Janelle and David and the lawsuits and the Duggars, and it's like, how do I even sit straight? How do I even see straight? I can't. I tell you. So this stream, I apologize, is more than a week in the making. I have been wanting to get this out here, but we talked last time about how the Sister Wives are coming back to TLC in January, and this season is going to be about the family's apparent upheaval in Flagstaff. If you remember, they moved there last year and left Vegas to Arizona, which, by the way, it's completely illegal to be polygamous in the state of Arizona. So they're actually breaking the law by living there in a polygamous lifestyle. They initially were going to build one giant house. That somehow never happened, and now they are spread out around Flagstaff, with Mary renting, Robin recently purchasing an almost $900,000 home with Cody. Kristyn owns because of her animals, and then Janelle is renting a house as well. The family has not been seen out. In fact, I went through all of their Instagrams, and I think the last time I found all of them together was back in like May for one of the wives' birthdays. But other than that, the last time they were mostly together was on the 4th of July, when they posted, I believe Kristyn or Janelle posted a photo of the wives with their children, minus Mary. Mary has been all over the place. She has been traveling with her pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing company, LuLaRoe, who is currently battling multiple lawsuits and will be closing their largest warehouses in the state of California and laying off 167 workers. She is continuing to recruit people for an organization that's on the decline. And as they've been prepping to get this all together, well, suddenly now they're all out to eat. Isn't that crazy? It's almost like they're doing publicity for the show. Well, they've been together for how many years? And Kristyn's aunt is named Kristyn Decker. Now I'll show you the photo of them out, and then we'll talk a little bit about what Kristyn has to say and why it might be that this family isn't as happy as they seem and isn't photographed together often. Here they are on Instagram. Kristyn says, "We feel blessed to be able to embrace our plural family in public. So grateful for open-mindedness." I don't know that plural marriage is about open-mindedness. I thought it was about oppression, but I digress. Look, we have to wear appropriate clothing for dinner tonight. So exciting for the dining. And they all were hanging out, Kristyn, Janelle, and Mary, at Dallas-Fort Worth International, Texas, obviously traveling together, likely for the show. And it says, "Chilling at TGIF Fridays in my red fringe LuLaRoe Stella with LuLaRoe, Mary Brown, and Janelle." Because that's literally all they do is hawk their crappy, overpriced MLM clothing. Okay. So the family has rarely been seen together, and now suddenly, leading up to the show, they're all out in the public and embracing, and so grateful for everyone embracing their lifestyle, right? Right. Okay. So Kristyn Brown's aunt, Kristyn Decker, actually has been speaking out to Radar Online. Now, Kristyn is a unique individual because she actually was a sister wife and was a part of the Apostolic United Brethren, which is the same organization that the Browns belong to. She was married and was in a polygamous relationship until she was 50. She was the first wife, I think, of many. And after leaving at age 50, she has now become an advocate to help families leave polygamous lifestyle. If you remember, this is the same woman that the Browns actually debated at a college about whether or not it was a choice and whether or not polygamy, people that lived in polygamy, were happy. All right. Well, here's what she's been saying to Radar Online. So she has said that she initially believed that Kristyn was happy, and she really the family in general wants Kristyn apparently to leave Cody. She said, "I was still in polygamy when Kristyn joined. She looked happy, and I thought, she's crazy about Cody, so go for it. Even as a believer, I wanted to privately go tell them to run. I knew how crazy and insane it was. You don't know what you're getting into. I wish I would have warned people. And she then went on to describe the miserable, happy life that the Browns have based upon ignorance and their cult mindset. And she even calls the religion a cult. She says the Browns are miserably happy. They're miserable on the inside. I don't think any of them know what genuine happiness and freedom is. I thought I was happy. I thought life was great. I was serving God. I was happy serving God, but miserable doing it. The more you sacrifice, the better your blessings will be in heaven. She went on to say that she has not been in touch with Kristyn since she departed from polygamy. She says, we have not been in touch. I've been the bad apple to speak out against polygamy. I would speak to the Browns anytime, but I don't believe they want to speak to me. Then she even sort of poked at the fact that the wives are very unlikely, very unhappy. On her website, she actually talks about some of the frequently asked questions about polygamy, which we'll go into in a minute. But she said that if there was no show, there would have been a bigger chance for them to leave. This is their income, all the parties, the traveling. None of that would have happened without the show. Not only that, but all of the moving, all of the massive houses, all of the expensive clothes that they wear, all of the expensive houses that they rent and own. None of that would be possible without the show. And then she went on to explain that polygamy itself is harmful for both men, women, and children. And she says polygamy is a system of abuse overall, mental, emotional, and spiritual. The groups believe that their leaders are the right ones and the others are all wrong. Overall, polygamy is a system that's harmful to men, women, children, and society. You will live in polygamy, and the women will be submissive. The women must let the man have other wives or they'll go to hell. Imagine that. So Mary, wife number one, has basically been allowed and had no choice to have Cody take as many wives as possible. And there's been a lot of speculation in this off season that he is looking for wife number 5. Robin is in her 40s now. And in the world of polygamy, the more children that you bear and the bigger your army, the best heaven you can have. The levels of heaven get better with the bigger and the more wives and the more kids. So if Cody is to be the best polygamist that he's going to be, he needs to find a new wife to reproduce. Robin just had a baby and she theoretically could have a few more. Mary's done. It appears Kristyn's done and Janelle's done. All of them are kind of out of the age at this point to have children. Robin could have a couple more if she wanted to, although she's in an age range where, you know, women in their 40s, it's riskier. Not saying it's not possible. There's just more risks. I'm in my 40s. I know all about it. So she also went on to say that it's a cult. Yikes. She said, if we look up cult, everything within the AUB or religion of plural marriage, the system they have and they believe in, it's cohesive. The men will be the leaders. The men are the ones that bring the women to heaven if they qualify. The final decisions are with the men. If those women wanted to have another man, they can't. It's not an equality or equal system. So men can have as many as they want, but women can't have anything more than the man that they're given. And she actually discussed about how in her own marriage, she was like rife with jealousy and her relationship with her husband suffered. She said, my husband and I had a good sexual relationship, but it was never the same after he brought in his next wife. There was no loyalty. There was constant comparison. Constant. He loves her more. He'd rather be with her than me. So Kristyn has also talked a lot about Mary, and she has said that Mary is exhibiting signs of a wife that is on the verge of leaving her family. She says that Mary going out and traveling and doing things that help her identify with herself and seeking friends outside of the family and having a job and finding independence away from the family could be the very first step that Mary's taking to potentially leave the family. However, leaving the family is tricky because if Mary were to leave, she basically will be shunned by her entire community. And Kristyn says that she actually believes that Cody has already shunned Mary. She says that she doesn't believe that Cody has ever forgiven Mary for what happened with the catfish. Because again, Mary can't have happiness. Cody can have as many wives as he wants, but God forbid Mary want to get her happiness, and Cody's all like, Mr. Jealous Man, you're shunned. And this could be why she's not seen as much with the family. It could be why she's out doing her own thing. But the shunning also means that if she were to leave the family, based on the belief system that they have, she will lose her spot in heaven, and she could affect the heaven of all of her. She could affect the eternity of her entire family by leaving. And that is why so many of these women stay, because they're brainwashed to believe that if they leave, not only will they go to hell, but they could affect their whole lives, everyone else in their lives, from going to hell. Yikes. So Kristyn actually has this cool organization where she does advocacy, and it's on this website for the organization is actually called the Sound Choices Coalition. It educates society about the realities of polygamy, and it advocates for victims. So they say that on their harms of polygamy, that polygamy is actually not a choice. Polygamous culture do not agree to live the principal belief that their disobedience will cause severe consequences to the internal welfare. So they're not really choosing it. They have to do it if they don't want to have if they want to have a good eternal welfare. She says that husbands control destinies. So women believe their husbands have control of their internal destinies. The women must obey, so they have to take a covenant to obey their husbands as he obeys God in righteousness, and that righteousness is subject to interpretation by the males in the community. There's an imbalance of power, according to this website. It says gender inequality and balance of power between the man and his plural wives. She says they say that women are victims of undue influence. Patriarchal polygamists believe that the prophet or priesthood leader that the women marry presides over them, and he is therefore entitled to receive revelations from God concerning that woman, empowering the male leaders within an godly-like status beyond what would be standard or of an ordained clergy. So basically, their husbands become gods, and they are the ones that preside over them. They also say that women are broken into submissiveness, so women are required to repent of all of their sins, and that the repentance process can be publicly humiliating, psychologically devastating, and even physically violent if necessary to achieve the desired humility and obedience. Emotional and physical abuse wears you down over time. It erodes your confidence, independence, and sense of efficacy and good judgment. Successful abusers use brainwashing tactics to disassemble your personality and extinguish your natural response to abuse. In other words, you become numb and submissive instead of fleeing or flighting back to the face of abuse. They say women are manipulated. They falsely portray outward happiness, but inside they're miserable. They have higher rates of depression. They have unhealthy relationships with other people. There's constant fighting in between the family. There's jealousy. There's so many issues that happen. And they do all of this under the guise of manipulation by the men and the clergy to maintain obedience. And basically, they don't have any choice in reproduction. The man is the one that is supposed to bear as many seeds as possible. And so their sole job for the man is to bear as many children as possible so they can have a united massive kingdom in heaven. She reminds everyone on this website through this coalition that it's a felony, and you're basically not consenting to be in this women are not essentially consenting if they grow up in polygamy and then are married into another polygamous family, because to do so, you'd be consenting to commit a felony. And women are just brainwashed to keep doing it. And men are hell-bent on power, which can lead to, according to this website, abuse, incest, rape, tons and tons of issues with, women believing that they can't leave and have no power. So while we pretend on the outside that this family looks happy, it appears that most polygamous families have a lot of issues. There's been a lot of studies around the country that are referenced on this website. And I'll actually put a link into it in the description so you can actually learn more about polygamy and the harmful effects it has on women, children, and society as a whole. And there are reasons why it is outlawed in so many different states. according to the website, unlike the Browns, most people that live in polygamy actually live in poverty. It's used frequently as a way to get Medicaid welfare because they only marry one wife, and so the other wife is technically single, has no access to benefits, has only a spiritual relationship, and therefore uses Medicaid welfare to pay for their brood of children. And it ends up being very expensive on the hands of society because it's impossible for these families to afford the billions of kids that they make. So as we look forward to the new season, could it be that Mary's going to finally step away from the family? I don't think so. I mean, I think she might be trying to, but I agree with what Kristyn Decker's like estimation is that they depend on this show in order to have the things that they do. And let's be real, like Mary and Kristyn would not have the successful like pyramids on LuLaRoe if they were not on this show. They would be like the thousands of other women across the country that will have to declare bankruptcy or will lose money in the pyramid. But because they're famous, they've been able to use that. And I'm sure Deanne and Brian Stidham are, Mark Stidham have used their fame as a way to catapult and get more people into the pyramid. So they have too much riding on stake here for them to actually leave the family. So they can just pretend like they're happy for how many ever days they film, and then when everything else is not filming, they probably just ignore each other, my opinion. I'm guessing that Cody spends most of his time with Robin, being that she has the youngest children, and she appears to be the favorite wife and the only legal wife at this time. So I would love to know what you think about all of this. Do you think that they are miserably happy? Do you think they only stay together for the show? Do you think that polygamy is a bad thing like I do? It's a cult. All right, you guys, I will be back later with more. I can't decide what I'm going to do, but this was a stream that definitely had to get done, and I am so happy it was finished. And Sister Wives will be starting in January. I think January 5th is the premiere date. And yay, Sister Wives. Yay for systemic oppression of women, children, and the family. Bye, guys.